Today we're going to do a foil and glitter tumbler. I'm going to take you through all of the steps to make this on your own. If you're new here, my name is Alison and I post tumbler tutorials to help you become a more confident tumbler maker. If you like the video, make sure you leave me a comment and subscribe because I don't want you to miss all of the fun tutorials that I post every single week. If you're wanting to make a similar tumbler, you will find all of the tools, supplies, and discount codes underneath this video, as well as some other resources for you to learn even more about making tumblers. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to do is talk about the foils that I got. I ended up getting a pack and there are a ton of different patterns on this roll. And I just want to show you the really endless options that you have when it comes to using foils. These are from the Artistic Painting Studio. I saw her on TikTok decorating furniture and I was like, this was like months and months and months ago. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to need those. And thankfully, they became pretty popular. So here we are. I love the holographic colors and the different patterns available. Today's tumbler is going to be rose gold and leopard print. So to do the tumbler, I just cut like 1-inch strips to prepare for adding them to my tumbler. I will say the long rolls are hard to manage and hard to store. So if you have the option to buy these in sheets, I would absolutely do that just to make your life a little easier when it comes to handling and storing. I do the same with my vinyl, so I don't know why I thought this would be any different. So I have the about 1-inch strips and I'm going to cut them just to be a couple inches long. And I've got both the rose gold and the leopard print, but you want to cut these, before you get started decorating because you don't want to have to wait longer than necessary for your glue to dry. So I'm going to start with the CrystaLac glitter glue, and I am using a chip brush because I really want a distressed look. I want there to be places where the foil doesn't stick. I do not want it to have full coverage. So I went with a chip brush and I let this dry for a few minutes. Once it starts getting clear, you are ready to go. I took my heat gun just for a second to help the process speed along, but you could just wait if you wanted to. So what I did was then apply just alternating colors around the top and on the bottom. I am not doing evenly spaced. It is very random and very, not even around that cup. And then I'm going to take my squeegee tool that has the felt on it. You only want to do this if you have the felt end. And you're going to apply pressure to burnish in these foils. You can use your finger. You can grab a cloth or a towel or an old t-shirt and do the same thing so you're not rubbing off any of the foil. But I went ahead and burnished all of those in and then took my heat gun on the top pretty briefly, but just to sort of help it stick down, I went over it with a little bit of heat and went in and burnished one last time. So I let the glue dry just for a couple minutes until it turned clear, and then I applied my foils and then I did the burnishing. From there, you can just peel away the transfer sheet. It is super, super easy. And you'll see that I do not have full coverage. Some stick better than others, but I have those distressed lines, which is exactly what I was going for. You could use a more full coverage brush if you wanted. So I let that dry a couple of hours and then it was time to apply some Brite Tone. I wanted to just seal up the foils and get them in place before I added any glitter. So I went through and did about 2 or 3 coats of Brite Tone. Make sure that you let each coat dry for 4 hours before you reapply a second coat. And make sure you let it spin for just about an hour and then you can take it off your turner and allow it to hang dry the rest of the time. I did not seal the foils with anything. I just put the Brite Tone right over the top. I haven't had any issues with colors or lifting or anything like that. So then I went in to apply the glitter, and I only have part of this filmed, but I will talk you through it. So I just put randomly little bit of glitter. I have it just in this little needle nose bottle to help me control where it goes, but you do want to brush it out before you add any glitter. So I'm just using a foam brush to kind of brush it out and make that stroke a little bit longer, and then I'm going to apply my glitter. I basically went around and did it like in between where there were like big spots of that black spray paint showing through. And then I will show you here on the bottom sort of what it looked like. I just did a little bit of glue. I brushed it out with that foam brush, and then I immediately put on my glitter. This is a total random pattern, but I did some on the top, some on the bottom. Some are longer than others. And I did it basically to add a little bit more texture to the tumbler. And there was just like too many like black spots and too many places where it just looked like it needed something else. This is Goldella from Glitzy Kreations, and I absolutely love this gold. And I will say some of the foil edges were a little bit harsh, like really, really straight lines. So that was something else that I was trying to cover up. The other thing I did was take my finger and tap down glitter, and I let this dry for 2 hours. Applying the glitter was such an easy process, and I just let it hang dry for those 2 hours. Once that 2 hours was up, it was time to do the dry brush. So you can see there's like kind of glitter everywhere, and I definitely don't want that on my final tumbler. So I took just a dry paintbrush and got all of that excess glitter off of my tumbler. This also helps to make sure that your glitter does not clump up when you start sealing it and moving forward. So it's a super, super important step that you do not want to skip. I wasn't going for perfection either. Like, I didn't really care if there was gold glitter kind of straight around. I didn't really care about that. So I just wanted to make it so it looked good, but I wasn't like going crazy, making sure I had no specks of glitter anywhere on the tumbler. Although I don't actually think there are many. It really sticks to the glitter glue, so it worked out really nicely. Right after this, I got my cup turner out and started my coats of Brite Tone. For this tumbler, I did about 4 coats of Brite Tone, but I did not seal this glitter. Like right after I dry brushed it, I just went in with my Brite Tone. I didn't feel like I needed to do a sealing layer with glitter glue, although you certainly could if you wanted to. I just went in and covered my cup with Brite Tone, and I did about 4 coats, maybe 5 because I didn't seal that glitter with glitter glue, and I did an extra coat or 2 of Brite Tone before I went in with my first sand. Remember, all of your Brite Tone layers need to dry for 4 hours before you put any more Brite Tone on top. That's at least 4 hours in between every single coat. Once you do those 4 or 5 layers of Brite Tone, it is time to sand. I'm taking my 400 grit sandpaper, and I am only sanding down that glitter. You don't need to sand over the foils because you really want to get this as smooth and as even as possible. So just take your sandpaper and go over the glitter. This will help it smooth it out quicker than sanding the whole thing. So then I'm going to use my surface conditioner and clean up any dust. I really have been liking using the surface conditioner for cleaning after sanding, but you could also use a damp paper towel. Both will work. You just want to make sure you get that dust completely off. And then you will continue with your coats of Brite Tone. I did 3 more coats of Brite Tone, and then I sanded again to get it nice and smooth. Remember, there's no rule, but you're going to follow that process until it is smooth. I think on this tumbler I did 3 sandings and continued Brite Tone until this cup was absolutely and completely smooth. So once my cup I felt like was done, I go in for my final steps. It is a shiny tumbler. I could give this to a customer, but I'm going to go in one more time with my surface conditioner, and then I'm going to do 3 coats of Brite Tone with my reducer. So I like to finish up my tumbler with 2 to 3 coats of Brite Tone mixed with the reducer. In this bottle, I use 5 tablespoons of Brite Tone mixed with 1 teaspoon of the reducer. And I do this because I have a cold and very, very dry climate in my workspace. And it just helps get that last few coats to be extra shiny and flawless. I just found that it helps, and I really like the final project when I do that. You can see that is just flawless and shiny here outside, and I love how simple yet super fun that this tumbler turned out. I love the rose gold and the leopard print and the black. Just makes me very, very happy. Let me know in the comments what you think of the tumbler. If you like rose gold as much as me, check out the rose gold Milky Way tutorial up on your screen.